Imagine standing on a bustling Boston street. The year is 1919. You hear the clatter of a passing train, smell the salty air from the harbor, and then, in a terrifying instant, you're hit by a sticky, 25-foot-tall tidal wave, a wave made of molasses. It sounds like a bizarre nightmare, but this was a real, devastating event. This is the story of the Great Molasses Flood, a disaster so strange it not only killed 21 people, but also forever changed American law, forcing companies to be held accountable for their negligence. Our story begins in Boston's North End at 529 Commercial Street. Here stood a colossal steel tank, 50 feet high, holding 2.3 million gallons of raw molasses. It belonged to the United States Industrial Alcohol Company. During World War I, molasses wasn't just a sweetener. It was a critical resource for making explosives. The tank was a rush job, built in 1915 by a company treasurer with zero engineering experience to meet wartime demand. From the start, there were chilling warning signs. Locals complained of a constant groaning sound coming from the tank. Rivets the size of your thumb would pop out, and dark streams of molasses would ooze down its sides. The leaks were so bad that kids would collect the runoff in jars for free candy. When a foreman reported the danger, he was told, "Mind your own business." The company's only fix: they painted the tank brown to hide the leaks. On January 15, 1919, the weather was unusually warm, around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This warmth made the molasses less thick, increasing the pressure on the tank's already weak seams. At 12:30 p.m., it happened. Witnesses described a sound like a thunderclap, followed by a machine gun rattle as the rivets burst. The tank exploded. A 25-foot wave of molasses, nearly 1.5 times heavier than water, tore through the streets at 35 miles per hour. The force was catastrophic. It ripped away a support pillar for the elevated railway, nearly sweeping a train off the tracks. It flattened a fire station, trapping firefighters inside. People and massive draft horses were swept away, crushed, or drowned in the sticky flood. In total, 21 people were killed and over 150 were injured. As the cold air returned, the molasses thickened into a knee-deep sludge, trapping victims and making rescue efforts a nightmare. The harbor turned brown, and it took over 6 months and hundreds of workers to clean up the mess. For decades, residents claimed they could still smell the sweet scent of molasses on hot summer days. The public was outraged. 119 lawsuits were filed against the company, which tried to blame the disaster on an act of God, an unforeseeable event like an anarchist bomb or a mini earthquake. If they could prove that, they wouldn't be legally responsible. This was a common defense for corporations at the time, but the victims' lawyers were ready for a fight. The trial lasted 3 years and became a landmark case for using science in the courtroom. Experts proved the tank's steel walls were less than half the required thickness. The blueprints showed the designer had done zero-stress calculations. The smoking gun was evidence that the company knew about the leaks and simply painted over them. In 1925, the court delivered a groundbreaking verdict. The company was found guilty of negligence. The judge ruled that even if an act of God like the temperature change contributed, the disaster's true cause was the company's foreseeable, negligent construction. The USIA was ordered to pay the equivalent of $11 million today to the victims. This case set a revolutionary precedent. It established that corporations could no longer hide behind the act of God defense when their own negligence was to blame. The bizarre catastrophe of a sugar tsunami forced American companies to prioritize public safety over profit, paving the way for modern structural engineering standards and a new era of corporate accountability. It was a dark, sticky lesson in physics and law, forever etched into the history of Boston. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more forgotten chapters from history. See you next time.